Now is absolutely the time to pay attention. Heed every single warning.
All eyes on the tropics as the system inches closer to the Gulf Coast. This morning, city and state leaders are urging everyone to get ready.
You only have to go back to 2016 to remember exactly how dangerous and catastrophic unnamed storms can be.
Heavy wind, rain, storm surge, all expected across Louisiana with severe floodwaters already hitting parts of New Orleans. We have the latest on how parish leaders are preparing for what's to come right now on WDSU News This Morning.
And right now, several portions of Louisiana under hurricane watch as we track the potential for tropical development in the Gulf.
Yeah, and right now, many of us are under a flash flood watch. At this point, the system appears to be making landfall through the middle of Louisiana, bringing with it potential storm surge, possible damage to areas along the coast. And this morning, we do have team coverage of the evacuations taking place, the preparations by local leaders, and of course, a cleanup already underway. But first, our team of meteorologists, Quaylen Murphy, Damon Singleton, keeping track of the tropics for us. And Quaylen starts off our coverage this morning.
Good morning, Randy. Good morning, Charles. We're still tracking what is not officially a tropical system. It's still a disturbance in the Gulf, and it still has that classification of potential tropical cyclone. That's because we do expect it to become a depression or a storm at some point today. Hurricane Hunter mission in progress right now, and we still expect the system to strengthen to Category 1 hurricane status. There is a center of that circulation, though. It's about 210 miles southeast of New Orleans. And right now we're seeing some of those convective cloud bursts on the western side of the system, indicative of some thunderstorm activity, which we are seeing south of us this morning. Here's the latest forecast track. And again, depression status likely today, then to tropical storm status. There's that Category 1 status into early Saturday morning at 75 miles per hour. By then, we expect it to be turning the bend. The question still becomes, when will that turn happen? And again, that cone extends more so into southeast Louisiana this morning, a little bit more of a shift to the east. And so again, that's why we still have concerns on this system. Even as it pulls inland through Sunday, tropical storm will still meander around the northern half of the state, and we still expect impacts through Sunday and possibly into Monday as well with this system. Right now, winds of 30 miles per hour moving west at 5. Then we'll see that slow transition still to the west through this afternoon. Notice the showers and storms on the western side, more of that moisture pulling up here on the eastern side to the north, and eventually that will wrap around and bring us some passing showers and storms, tropical in nature throughout the day today, so locally heavy at times. You can see, though, we're fairly dry for the most part here across the area. There's that recon flight passing through, so this will hopefully supply us with more information to give us even more updates into the forecast and more insight as to what we can expect. But for the time being, dry conditions, so if you're headed out on the roadways, it's a good go for you. Still looking at hurricane watches in place along the coast here. This means we could see gusts as high as 74 plus miles per hour, a strong likelihood of that. Tropical storm watches from Lake Bourne to the coast from St. Bernard down to Plaquemines to account for gusts of 39 to possibly 65 plus miles per hour. And here we go with the storm surge watch, still 3 to 6 feet for some areas, and that's from the metro down to the South Shore. That surge will play a role on the Mississippi River as well. And of course, the flash flood watch extended from this point today. It was supposed to just go through Thursday, but we knew there was a likely extension through Saturday to account for the rain potential of 6 to 12 inches, maybe some isolated spots picking up 20 inches of rain. So still tracking a whole lot this morning, and we'll continue to give you more extended coverage with meteorologist Damon Singleton in about 10 minutes or so. Right now, check out your roads with Kelly Brown.
All right, good morning, Quaylen, and good news, no accidents or breakdowns. Pretty clear conditions if you're traveling out this morning. Over on the North Shore, Hammond, Covington, and Slidell all look great. No reports of any slowdowns. If you're traveling across the Causeway Bridge, no restrictions or advisories, and we have clear conditions all the way to the South Shore. Coming across the high-rise bridge, it is completely open and all lanes are flowing really greatly this morning. If you're traveling into the CBD, we have clear conditions there as well. No reports of any slowdowns as you travel from the West Bank toward the Crescent City connection. Kenner into Metairie looks pretty good. No reports of any issues along 610, and things look pretty good as you travel toward Kenner from the Bonnie Carey Spillway. The Huey P. Long Bridge looks great as well, but we do have a power outage in this area. That Waggaman development area. So keep this in mind and treat those malfunctioning traffic lights as four-way stop signs. Back to you, Randy and Charles.
Kelly, thank you for that. Well, just moments ago, a mandatory evacuation went into effect in Plaquemines Parish. This is all out of an abundance of caution as we anticipate impacts from what could become Tropical Storm Barry later on this evening.
And WDSU's Heath Allen is in the parish right now with very important details for those preparing to leave home. Heath.
Good morning, Charles. Good morning, Randy. Yeah, the minute hand past 6 o'clock, and so it's no longer a voluntary evacuation here in Plaquemines Parish, but a mandatory evacuation. Buses are being made available. Let me give you some information on what you need to know as far as if you need to leave by bus. On the southern end of the parish, Boothville Elementary, the Bureau's Fire Department, and the Plaquemines Parish Governmental Building, they've been selected as pickup locations. On the East Bank, Phoenix High School will be the pickup location. Everybody's going to be transported to West Monroe, Louisiana. One of the biggest reasons for the evacuation, of course, is the high level of the Mississippi River, which kind of cuts right down the heart of your parish. Parish President Kurt Lapine here. What's our status now? We're now in a mandatory evacuation. What do people in your parish need to know, and what do they need to do?
Effective 6 a.m. this morning, we issued a mandatory evacuation. We have staging areas for people to be picked up. They will be transported to Belle Chase Auditorium where they'll be processed, and they will be put on buses and moved to West Monroe, where we have a cooperative endeavor agreement with West Monroe.
You know, this is all, as we have said a number of times, just out of an abundance of caution. You don't want to see anybody, especially in your parish, which is so geographically challenged in things like this. You don't want to see somebody get stuck.
Yeah. Well, the fear is the unknown. You know, this unprecedented high river. We're not sure. We're not sure which way the track is headed. We're not sure of the storm surge. So we err on the side of caution.
You know, especially after we saw what happened yesterday in New Orleans. Well, you don't know what might happen.
It can escalate fairly quickly, so we want to be prepared.
So the mandatory evacuation is in place.
In place as of 6 a.m. this morning.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Kirk Lapine, Parish President here in Plaquemines Parish. So bottom line is the mandatory evacuation is in place, but you can go to the Belle Chase Auditorium, get registered, get on a bus. You can get out of here. You'd be taken to West Monroe, Louisiana, while whatever we got working out there finally decides what it wants to do and where it wants to go. Guys, back to you.
And Heath, as folks are under that mandatory evacuation, there's a voluntary evacuation right now for those living in Lafourche Parish.
And this morning we have Director of Homeland Security Brent Abity on the phone. Mr. Abity, can you hear us right now?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for taking the time. Can you just give us a quick update on what the parish preparations look like this morning?
Sure. Our preparations are continuing. We've been working on this for a couple of days now. We've sandbagged some levees that tend to run low, mostly some small internal levees. Our Department of Public Works people have got all of our pumps fueled up and checked out, and we're making sure everything is running fine. From what we're looking at right now, our biggest threat is going to be the surge and rainfall and flooding. So we have, in fact, called for a voluntary evacuation south of Leeville because of the high probability that LA1 will be inundated and impassable. You know, that's our sole route in and out of South Lafourche Parish, so we have to be very diligent about making sure that people are not stranded down there. Other than that, like I said, we think it's going to be a big rain event, and all of our pumps are up and running, and if we need to adjust what we're doing later today, we'll call for more evacuations. I don't necessarily think that will happen, but depending on the path of the storm, it keeps changing on us and moving closer.
Absolutely, and of course, keeping Highway 1 clear, definitely a big concern. That's why we're also seeing Grand Isle under that voluntary evacuation as well. Can you talk about some sandbag locations for any residents, neighbors, things that they can do to start protecting their property?
Sure. Our residents are familiar with our locations. Generally, we offer sandbags at what we call the field offices, which are where our Department of Public Works equipment is housed. They can pick up sandbags on a voluntary basis if they desire to use sandbags. We started making them available yesterday, and we'll continue to have them probably through Friday.
Perfect. Well, Brent Abity, the Director of Homeland Security there for Lafourche Parish, thank you so much for joining us on the phone and giving us that update.
All right,
Thanks,
well, New
everybody.
Orleans.
Have a good morning.
Thank you. And New Orleans is under a state of emergency, and today many government offices and buildings in the city are going to be closed, along with Nord summer camps and several colleges. That information will be scrolling at the bottom of your screen all morning long. And the mayor urging all residents to get ready now and prepare for the rest of the week. Now, in a statement, she says heed every single warning that comes from the city of New Orleans. Be prepared for the impacts. It's still too soon to tell what the impact will be, but we believe there will be an impact. It is never too early to prepare.
And Charles, this comes as the Sewage and Water Board in New Orleans says all hands are on deck today as the city again prepares for the potential for more flooding. Now, yesterday, many questioned whether or not the pumps were even working as the city witnessed widespread rising water, specifically in many neighborhoods that had never taken on water like this before. Leaders say that the city received double the amount of rain yesterday than what they saw on Mother's Day, when we got 4.5 inches of rain in just 3 hours, attributing to the flooding situation there yesterday morning. However, the agency's executive director tells us that there is a possibility that 1 or 2 of the pumps may have temporarily gone down yesterday, but assures us there are 118 of 120 pumps operational. The Sewage and Water Board also says the pumping stations are fully manned and will continue to be that way throughout the weekend. Then in Jefferson Parish President Mike Genney says 186 of 187 pumps are working. He also said the Flood Authority might even be operating a new 17th Street Canal pump today, with one of the floodgates set to close on the 17th Street Canal there this afternoon. He says there's concern about the water level on Lake Pontchartrain blocking the water from that canal, and we'll have more on that issue coming up in our next half hour. But then in Terrebonne Parish, officials say 193 of 194 drainage pumps are fully operational and working on float switches this morning. The one pump that is down is waiting for a warranty replacement engine. And in anticipation of severe weather, the Bubba Dove floodgate along the Houma Navigational Canal, that will be closed sometime today, and then several other floodgates across the parish were closed yesterday.
And over in St. Charles Parish, President Larry Cochran also declared a state of emergency this morning, urging residents prone to storm surge such as Bayou Gauche and Des Allemands to take necessary precautions to protect their homes and property. Yesterday, HESCO baskets were put up along Bayou Des Allemands in anticipation of high water.
Well, so to come, we are tracking the tropics for you. Team coverage here on WDSU as we look at the latest models and a slight shift in the track from yesterday.
And go ahead and make sure you download the WDSU app. There you can get up-to-date information on the weather. We'll be right back.